And we are live. Well, no, let's do that again.
Whew. I am going to start us off with what's the last couple of weeks from the webcast. Let me start that all over again, Scott. I'm so sorry. All right, let's go into looking at the highlights from each of us for the.
You got this, bro.
All right, let's go into this from last week's. Let me start again. Go ahead.
We believe in you, dude. We believe in you.
All right, I'm going to do that again.
You uncultured.
All right, moving on. We have a hold on. Got somebody sneaking out of the house here.
I should probably lead out of that instead of just sitting here like an idiot. I'm sorry.
No more stretch and sprue for us, Boo. Sorry. No more stretch and sprue for us. No sprue for us. With that, I'm going to say you can. Let me start this over, Scott.
No, I don't remember what I was going to say. Damn it. I lost my train of thought.
What's even here is when, sorry, Scott.
Yeah, I was working towards something. I don't remember what that was, and I feel like an idiot.
And we are live. Welcome, listeners, to episode 70 of the Plastic Posse podcast. We're one down tonight, but we're going to go around the room and introduce you to everyone I have on the horn tonight to walk us through this great episode. So first up, out in Utah, our illustrious leader, Scott Gentry.
How you doing, John?
Outstanding. Wonderful that you are here. You keep us together, Scott. You're like the father figure in this group.
I'm like that sticky stuff on the bottom of your shoe that you can't get off.
Yeah, to our listeners, when we don't do something, he's like, you know what? I'm not mad. I'm disappointed in the nicest way possible in a Facebook message. Going to his neighbor, who has been, I think he's becoming a Marvel character in the world of lizards and reptilians, is Doug. How are you tonight, Doug?
I'm good. And speaking of lizards and reptilians, I got a snake bite today. You guys might be able to see it in the camera.
Oh, man.
Yeah, just a little boa bite. It was fine. It was my mistake. I made a mistake.
Just a little love tap.
Yeah.
Grant wants one of those.
Yeah. Until you wake up tomorrow and you have scales and you're a superhero.
Hey, if it comes with strength and health, and I'm down.
I think we all are. Sweet. We will come back to you. Grant, how are you doing on the left coast?
I'm doing great. I didn't get bit by a snake today, so I think my day is going pretty darn well. I'm just going to start off with that.
Awesome. And then lastly, out on the East Coast, we have TJ. How are you today, good sir?
Pretty good. Just got back from seeing Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 with my family. It was really good. Really good.
It's interesting. We have TJ with us. Just finished an airplane. He's encroaching on a lot of other people's territory. So we'll see how this episode goes. He's starting to take pot shots at the geeks and other airplane modelers. So with that, we're going to go around the horn again, but this time we'll go and talk about what's on everybody's bench. And I'll just go random. We're going to go to Grant. What's on your bench, man?
I just finished up a couple figures. So working on a couple Warhammer figures for Nationals. We'll probably talk about that later. I just got a Looch, I believe that's how it's pronounced, from my good friend Scott, that I really want to tear into. In 1/35th scale, a Tasca kit. That's going to be a fun build. I don't know what it is. Something caught my eye with that tank a couple of weeks ago, and I started looking, and I talked to Scott about it because I know it's his favorite tank. So I was real happy, and he hooked me up.
That's awesome. Doug, how about yourself? I've seen a couple 3D prints coming from you lately.
Yeah, TJ printed that. What was it? A Dilophosaurus a month or so ago. It was.
Yep, Dilophosaurus.
And so I started looking at that guy's STLs, and he's got a bunch of cool stuff. So I subscribed to him, and I'm printing a whole bunch of stuff, T-Rexes and stuff mostly for now. Although I'd love to branch out into some more unique and unknown stuff. So I've got a few of those going. that I've printed, and I'm going to be assembling and trying to mess around with. I've also got the Bandai tie interceptor in construction right now. Our friend Scott Hall sent that to me, and I'm going to try to do something a little different, especially maybe just maybe create a few things by hand and scratch build some things for the interior, even though you can't really see it. Just want to go a little farther than I have on one of these ties.
That's awesome. I'll stay in Utah and go over to Scott. He maxed out his 3D printer just today. He showed me a picture. Scott, tell us what that is.
Yeah, I've been printing up a 1/32 scale Viper, and the native size for the STL is 1/24. And so just for fun, I didn't think it would fit, but I pulled the fuselage up in Lychee, and man, I had to use every bit of acreage in both the Z and the X axis to get that thing done. But I printed it, and it took 34 hours at 30 microns, but I got a beautiful print. I'm excited. So if I can get the fuselage done, the rest of it should be cake.
Absolutely fantastic. And I know you finished up your group build as well, the FJ. That's posted online. Base looks great. I think it really rounds out the piece. So awesome work there.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Hey Scott, who's the designer? Who's the guy that designed that STL for the Viper?
Yeah, his name's Alain Rivard. It's Alain, and you can find his STLs on Facebook under Alain Rivard Prop Shop. His STLs are not on the budget end. They're a little bit expensive, but they're worth every penny if you compare them to STLs like Gambody or some of the other file providers out there. They're significantly better quality, in my opinion, and especially on non-organic shapes. The fit of his parts together, parts that fit into each other, everything fits perfectly. So really good. This Viper, I'm a bit of a Viper nut, as you guys know, and from an accuracy standpoint, I mean, this is by far the best replica of the Mark I Viper that you can get, whether it's kit form or 3D or whatever. So
I got to ask Scott, what is the price tag for that? You say expensive STL. I'm curious what the ballpark is for something like that.
Yeah, most of his files are $45 to $70. I think that one was $55.
Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad. I thought you were going to drop like 200, 300.
Yeah. No, not that much. But again, Elaine and his customer service is fantastic too. I've talked about him before. He's working on a Jawa sandcrawler right now. And he's actually, during the 3D modeling, he's actually buying the kits that Industrial Lights and Magic use to do the greeblies all over it. And he's using the kit parts to make sure that he gets every single little detail on that STL right. Anyway, I've bought several STLs from him. I have the Clone Wars Y-Wing. I have a Buck Rogers Thunder Fighter. I mean, just he does fantastic work. Highly recommended.
Yeah, and your machine is crushing it. I didn't see any layer lines on that latest one you did.
Yeah, it's that M3 premium. It was a really good price. I think I paid $449 for it, which was significantly less than my Mono X6K. And it just has a lot of refinements. I'm really, really liking it. But the repeatability of it with the Soraya Tech resin I've been using, and now that I put a heater under the hood, I get almost 100% good prints off of it. If I do my job and slice it correctly, I just almost never have failures. Love it.
Awesome. I'm going to go back over to TJ, aka Harvey Dent, Toothpaste, because he's gone over to the dark side with aircraft modeling. Tell us what you recently completed.
I recently completed Eduard's 1/48 scale F3F3 Wildcat. I did it as a Marine land-based aircraft that fought at Midway. Yeah, it was pretty fun. I'm not gonna lie. I've said more than once to more than one person, I love airplanes. I don't love airplane models, right? I, like most boys, was obsessed with fighter jets, and I watched Top Gun a million times when I was a kid. Like that, I grew up with that stuff. I love airplanes. Airplane kits, not so much. This, however, since I have no basis to compare against, was really good. I didn't have to fight really anything. The only hard part really is the landing gear, but that's more of a function of the Wildcat's landing gear. Those Grumman planes had a wonky landing gear setup. I mean, it's nothing Eduard could do about that other than make it as good as they can. Yeah, and of course I did that as a buddy build with our pal Ian, when we were out at your house, John, we kind of decided, let's do it. So we did it, and we finished within, although to be fair, I was technically done first, but I was missing a pitot tube because I sent mine into the wing by accident. And then I bought another one, but then I bought the wrong scale because I'm an idiot. And then I found the kit part, so I just put that in instead because I was like, I'm not waiting another 4 or 5 days for freaking pitot tubes, whatever. It was really fun. I really liked it. The Wildcat's a cool airplane. I like the blue gray.
Agree. It looks awesome. All the patina on it. Love it. Love Ian's as well. So I can't wait to see them maybe both together someday.
Sorry, TJ, I really thought your base really set it off too. You picked a perfect base, and of course, bases by Bill, man. What can we say?
Oh yeah, I got a little the one of their painted display bases. It's an American Star Roundel. It's the same one that's on the airplane. Anyone, I'm sure airplane guys know there's multiple U.S. Army Air Force Roundels that we used, and I got the plane I did has just the blue circle with a white star on it. The early one had the red circle in the middle, but I guess they changed that because it looked like the Japanese marking. I don't know. Doesn't matter. It looks cool. It like fits the airplane perfectly. I got I think it's 10-inch. The smaller of the sizes that he offers. So yeah, I was really happy to get it. It's pretty cool. It's actually sitting behind me on my printing table because I was shuffling around and my my workspace is a mess because I'm also working on a Churchill that probably guys have seen that I posted in the Posse group. I built a Churchill in a 75, which is a North African 75 millimeter. What it is a Churchill 4 with the 6-pounder taken out and a new gun mantlet from a Sherman, the M34 mantlet, the early mantlet put in, and then a M3 gun put in that to compensate for the lack of a good HE round from the 6-pounder. 6-pounder was an awesome anti-tank gun, not so much good general purpose gun. The American 75 millimeter was an amazing all-purpose gun. So I can't remember the guy's name. He had this grand idea to do it. There's pictures of how they did it. And if you want to do it on a kit, you pretty much do it the way they did, which is how I did. I cut a hole in the turret. Well, I traced the mantlet, cut a hole, glued it in, welded it in. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Of course, going back to look at my references or reference, I found one from it. So they were made in North Africa. They were used through the end of the war in the European mainland too. The reference I found is a line of them getting ready to support some infantry in indirect fire. It's not the best picture, but it's a cool picture. And when I looked at it closely, that Churchill had the applique armor added to it, which my kit has, but it's the AVRI version of the applique armor. So it has external mounting things welded on it and holes drilled into it to mount some of the AVRI mounts. So I had to fill all that. I did that earlier today. Now I have to sand it, make sure I filled the holes, and then I'm going to glue that on. Then it'll be ready for primer.
Nice. How many days you do those tracks in? Like 7, 12, 15?
I used the Master Club tracks. It took me 2 sessions. So the one set, I think I built like 3/4 of the first run in an evening. And then it was maybe like half. Then the next day, while I was working out, because my gym area is next to my bench area, I would do a set, put together five tracks because it's about a minute-ish. That's what I'm not joking either. It's exactly what I'm sure if my wife came down, she'd be like, what the hell are you doing? I'm blasting music, I'm wearing my gym clothes, I'm sweating. I won't sit down. So I stand and lean over my desk. I put the pieces together. I go do another set. I come back and do the other half of the pins, go do another set. I was like, well, I'm down here anyways. When I'm resting, I'm spending 60 to 90 seconds not doing anything. I could maximize my time. So I did. And then I finished the run when I was done before I went to go take a shower. Master Club tracks build really fast. People bitch about the little resin pins, but I've never had a problem with them. And the castings are always clean. It sucks because I know Master Club tracks are really hard to get now. They are still available.
Opportunity lost for a great YouTube video, though, TJ. I'm just imagining that in my head. You doing your sets, and then you run over to the bench, and you're handling those little tiny resin pins, and then you're dripping sweat on your bench. Then you run back over to your weight bench.
I mean, so to go along with that, it's funny. Justin Lentz messaged me earlier today. I don't know if you guys know. I think everyone knows Justin because I made a post about in Edward MiG-21 that I also is sitting over here that I'm going to start building maybe tomorrow. when we were talking about it, he asked me, how do you build so fast? That what I just explained is part of the way I'm able to do it. I maximize my time and minimize nonsense. That's really the secret. I don't get distracted. And if I'm doing something, I can lift weights and then put pieces together and then go back. I have to lift weights because if I don't, I feel bad. So I do it, but I'm down here. I'm literally 10 feet from my bench. I'm spending, a 50-minute workout. There's a fair amount of downtime. You're not working out for 50 straight minutes. If you lift weights, you have downtime. You can't just keep going. So why not put together tracks? And that way I can do what I need to do for my fitness and then also do what I need to do for my models. I don't know. It made perfect sense to me.
It's a good break, man. It breaks the tension of the workout, I bet. I mean, anything to, you have to worry about the next set. You just worry about your next 5 tracks. So makes sense.
I do admit that it's probably really funny to hear because it's patently ridiculous.
Hey, my fat ass sits on the couch and builds tracks while there's a TV show on. So, I mean, I'm multitasking too.
Well, it's kind of like, I kind of got the idea because like I've read articles and stuff where it's like, try to work something you want to do into your exercise to make you want to do your exercise. So like one of the things, I don't have a treadmill, but if I did, I would put it near my TV so I could play video games while I'm walking or jogging or watch right. It's like watching TV. Like my wife watches TV when she works out. I build track links when I work out. Do something productive with the time that's spent that you're not doing anything. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. During the winter months, riding the exercise bike downstairs, I have it set up in front of our TV, and I play World of Tanks during a bike session. I've never done modeling during it, but certainly running even now. There's a lot of podcasts out there, and there's a lot of time to run. So no, I'm with you. I haven't integrated modeling in yet, but that's a good idea. I like it.
I have my old Nintendo 64 hooked up for my stationary bike, and I played Diddy Kong Racing or something like that. It's pretty great.
Classic.
Diddy Kong Racing.
Classic.
Diddy Kong Racing was dope. I love that game.
Doug, you've been holding out on this. You should have took that to Omaha.
Oh man,
we could have played GoldenEye, Smash Bros, Diddy Kong Racing. Like, come on, Texas 2023, N64, and the Plastic Posse house.
GoldenEye tournament.
Yep.
No odd job.
You guys are going to have to find a copy of GoldenEye because it made me sick. That's the game that taught me that I have motion sickness with those first person shooters.
Yeah. I have GoldenEye. It's somewhere you guys can't see, but I have bins of like my old crap from my childhood are down in the basement. That's where like all my broken Legos are. All that stuff is somewhere over there. There's a bin I still have the box that my N64 came in because I don't know if it was me or my parents, but we had to save the damn box. Don't know why. I guess it worked out because then I put it back into the box. So I have the box. I have at least 2 controllers. I might have 4. I can't remember. And then probably 15 games. I had a fair amount of games. GoldenEye is definitely one of them. Perfect Dark, which I like even better. Controversial opinion. Perfect Dark is better than GoldenEye 007. I'm sorry. It just is. Ooh. It's made by the same company. Rare made it. They took the lessons they learned from GoldenEye 007 and made Perfect Dark. Fight me if you want. It's the truth. Perfect Dark also has suitcase machine gun turret, which is one of the coolest weapons in any first-person shooter game. So whatever. Come at me. I will die on that hill.
You get one spicy topic an episode. You were an aircraft builder this last 2 weeks. Cool your shit. and stop making crazy statements in the opening.
I'm loving this. TJ has a Sheldon Cooper cave of shame in his basement. You know how in Big Bang Theory, he saved every single thing he ever had, every video game, every laptop. That's awesome.
I do own every video game I've ever owned. I will not sell old games. It's just this thing. I can't do it. A bunch of my friends did. A lot of people I know did. They would sell old video games. I refuse. I don't know why, because I have some stinkers too. It's not like every game I bought was good. But
you mean you don't like pennies on the dollar?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Toe Jam and Earl.
That one I do like.
That's classic.
I couldn't figure out how to get off the second level. I just walked around and finally just turned it off.
Hi, welcome to the Plastic Posse video game podcast.
Oh, geez. All right, I'll polish us off for this segment. Been working on a Sherman. I had a Shelf Queen for a while and got it to primer and actually got some OD on it. I need to repaint the OD. I'm not happy with it. But it's a Tamiya kit, kind of mishmash of two kits with a bunch of accessories, scale color tracks, and I put a little Goliath on the back from Heavy Hobby, 3D printed. So I'm going to replicate it as a 761st vehicle. So it's not necessarily based on a picture, hypothetical with the Goliath on the back, but thinking of a mini vignette with some tankers from the 761st, Black Panthers, and yeah, hopefully that'll be done for Nats because there's not a lot of time between now and then, 75 days, and we'll get to that. You know, outside of bench last week, unfortunately, I was in Burbank and didn't get a chance to see Grant. It was a pretty hectic day for work, but did have a chance to stop by Burbank House of Hobbies. Paid my patronage there, picked up a Lance Bulldog from Mini Art that looks absolutely fantastic. Really want to build it. Love the red color on it. So that's been going on in my neck of the woods. Nothing crazy. Started the Tiger one as well. Started back up on that and bought some chisels from Rhino's Hobby and Tools. They don't have a website, but they are super responsive. Almost faster shipping than Sprue Brothers, but the tools I bought were chisels. That was one tool I didn't have, and they have some precision ones from a Japanese company. They're like $10 a piece, super affordable, and they're really, really nice. They were a vendor at Commies Fest. They're from the Southwest area, I think like Arizona somewhere, but he's super nice. He goes to the Phoenix show. He's with the Vegas show. Great selection, affordable pricing. Needs to get a website. But if you need some exotic Japanese tools or supplies, he is your guy. Super responsive, super fast. That's what's going on in Colorado. And we're going to jump right into our next topic, which we've kind of hinted at. And this will be the main discussion topic. You know, for our listeners, this episode, we don't have an interview lined up. We don't have roundtables. We're just going to be us talking and some of the big events on the horizon, some of the big events we've just recently been to as well. So the first discussion topic, you know, really want to start off at looking at the road to the IPMS Nationals. We are 75 days away from this recording on May 19th from the IPMS Nationals in San Marcos, Texas. I believe we are all planning to be there, and that is not a lot of time. And the Nats are always an adventure, and I feel like we're, you know, putting together things the night before, but I'd love to go around the room and just kind of talk about what's on your bench, what's your projection for Nats in terms of a project that you want to get across the finish line, and maybe also, since we're so close, have you done any planning around, you know, what that timing looks like? Again, 75 days isn't a lot, especially in the summer months. So it's going to be a wild ride to Nats. And with that, I think I'm going to start off with Scott on this one.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I think the first thing I'm going to bring is my FJ, and hopefully we can do a group entry. You know, I think besides the five of us, there's a bunch of our friends that have built these kits as well. So plan on bringing that. And then the project I've been working on that I have the best chance of bringing to Nats is I've been working on a 1/16 scale Panzer One. The only thing I think that scares me a little bit is just I want to do a base, and I kind of have an idea that might take some time. So we'll see, but I'm going to do my best. And the Panzer One is completely together. It's ready for primer. I got the metal tracks done and the 3D printed wheels. Everything's all ready to go. And just getting that ready for primer probably this coming week, and then start painting it.
That's awesome. So sticking in Utah, Doug, what are your thoughts? You going to bring some dinosaurs to Nats?
You know, it's an interesting question. I'll talk about that later. But if I make it, I will probably commit to doing something Star Wars, because that's my thing. I've got some Y-wing kits, and that might get me there. I might just say that TIE Interceptor is my go-to. We'll see.
Cool, no worries. We hope you're going to be there because it's going to be an awesome time. Go ahead.
I've got permission to buy a flight. I just need to make sure I have a place to stay, and then I'm definitely in.
I mean, Josh and I are sharing a room with the two queens, but you know, I'm sure we can figure out a couch or roll away or something.
There's rooms. I think Jensen has like 3 rooms booked.
I already booked the whole floor.
Because we're working on getting some other people there too that don't have sleeping arrangements lined up. So
we'll make it work.
Yeah,
right.
I think.
Well, then
we'll
tonight after we're done, I'm going to book a flight. Just need to.
There you go.
And the rooms have pull-out beds too in the couches because it's an embassy suites. Yep. So you can do that.
So yeah, it'll be something Star Wars. That'll be the deal. Okay, I'm going.
Outstanding. All right. Well, we'll go over to TJ. I know there's a lot of projects on your bench. You're going to be driving, which is probably a major benefit. What are you working on to take? And then maybe even give a recap of the flotilla or brigade that you're going to bring as well.
Oh man, that's a really good question. I've been thinking probably way too much about this. I probably won't bring a lot. I have a bit of a reputation of flooding the table, and that is what it is. I like to bring my work. I like to show my work off, and if I get lucky, I get to bring home some medals. And if I don't care. However, these last few times I've gone places, I've damaged models, and I don't like it for a couple of reasons. One, because then I have to fix it, and that pisses me off. And two, I like to give my stuff away. And take, for instance, my offline bus. It got a huge chip right on the forehead. It's very disappointing because I was going to give that as a gift to our friend Kevin Kelly, who's one of the coolest dudes ever. And I couldn't give it to him because it's got a big chip in it that I have to fix, and I haven't had time to fix it. So yeah, that being said, I will definitely be bringing kits because I am driving, so I have room to spare. Yeah, that's really tough because there's obviously I'll bring some machining Krieger for the group build. I'll bring some machining Krieger to enter separately in the science fiction categories. I will probably end up bringing the Wildcat just because I like it. I'm pretty proud of it. It's not perfect. It's pretty good. I think IPMS standard wise, I'm sure you could probably find some things wrong with it, but I lined the gear. I didn't get a micrometer out or any of that nonsense. I didn't measure it. Like I looked at my eyeballs. I'm like, yeah, it looks good. And I took a picture and it looked okay in the picture. So I was good with it. Yeah. That's tough. I know when we interviewed Andy, I told him I would bring the 16 scale Sherman. That's probably not going to happen. I don't have the bandwidth to paint something that big right now because I've started building it. So I'm gonna try. I can't make any guarantees, but yeah, I mean, I'll definitely be bringing stuff. I'm not gonna bring a whole lot. At least I say that now. Of course, I'm sure when I load all my up, I'll be like, oh, oops, I brought 30 kits, my bad. And then I'll have to deal with that. But yeah.
No, I totally get it. You're driving, which is fortunate, but I totally understand bringing a lot and then having to worry about it. But
it's the getting it home. That's the part I don't like. Getting it there, I'm okay with. And then getting it home, because I'm like, oh God, now I have to like pack all this crap back up, and then I have to take care of it again. Like, I don't know. I worry less bringing it home than I do bringing it there for whatever reason. And knock on wood, every time I've traveled, my models broke on the way home, which I guess is good, but then also bad because I get home from a trip that I'm sad that I'm home because I wish I was still on my trip. And then I unpack my models. I'm like, oh, that's great. These things that I love are broken. Cool. Awesome. Yeah, this is what I want to deal with now, to the point where I haven't even unpacked my models from AMPS. And AMPS was like 3 weeks ago. Or 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Something like that. I think it was 2 weeks ago. They're still sitting out in my other side where my display cabinets are, still in the box on the table. I don't even know if I'll unpack them before I go to IPMS, because I'm like, why bother? No one comes down to my basement to look at them anyways, except for me. So I'll just leave them in the box. Then I don't have to worry about packing them up.
I totally get that. I'm along the same lines there, man. I wanted to bring Andy's Tiger One, but yeah, it's from the time now until the Nats, that's 10 pounds in a 5-pound bag. So we'll kick it to next year for Madison, I think. I still want to do it, but it's a lot.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll definitely do the 16 scale Sherman. It's an awesome kit. I've put together the lower hull. It's fantastic. I love it. The turret's amazing, but yeah, it's so big. It's so big. The prospect of painting and weathering it, I'm like, I could work on one of my 25 other kits that are started and probably finish before I even start like painting this behemoth.
Yeah. And I'm going to re-weld my Tiger, and you can build it quickly, but like you said, once you get to painting, that's 4 or 5 kits in one. And it's a lot of volume.
It's daunting.
Yeah. What's even worse is when you're painting and you have 2 bottles that you think are the same paint, and then you paint half of it and you're like, oh, I'll open up the second bottle and continue painting Dunkelgelb when that shade of Dunkelgelb doesn't match at all the original coat, despite being the same bottle with the same label.
from the same manufacturer.
From the same manufacturer. So yeah, that's always fun. But no, totally get it. Grant, what about you, man? You're flying in, but usually have the Pelican case.
Yeah.
You can fit a RPG 7 in.
I'm kind of focusing on small stuff like TJ and you guys have all been saying. I've been lucky enough. Most of my damage to my stuff has been on the way home, which, like TJ said, sucks because you do all this work and you go to a show and you get it home and you're like, oh, it's like that kick in the gut. But it's going to be small figures, just figures. My kit I'm working on was going to be M1 IP, whatever it was, the cross between the 105 and the M1A1, but I just don't have the space for it. I looked at. So a buddy of mine reached out to me and said he had some pictures of the M114, the TACOM kit, basically, personnel carrier, but they did an experimental version with an M60 turret. They put the cupola from the M60 Commander's hatch on top of the M114 or M114. So that's what I'm going to do. I think that's going to be my kit. I got it for $20 from Sprue Brothers a couple of weeks ago. It was on sale, lightning sale. Gotta love it. Check it every day, and that's what I'm going to do. I got the Legends M60 turret with the resin interior. Great little kit. So that's going to be my thing. But, as we talk about this every year it's you have to be, especially when you're flying. We all hear those horror stories, and we all know what happened in Colorado to our buddy. Ended up there's probably parts of that tank still in the TSA machine. Jensen too, where he lost his. So I worry about that. I do get a little scared about that, and I don't. If I was driving, it'd be a different story. I'd be working on a little bit bigger stuff and maybe some stuff like that. But when you're flying these days, it's a madhouse a lot of the times. So you might have a Pelican case to put your kits in, but someone will cram their bag next to it as hard as they can and in an overhead compartment, and it doesn't always work that well. Again, it is what it is. I mean, we're here for the hobby. We're not here for, I love to go to the show because I get to see all you guys. I get to see all of our friends from all over the country and just say the world. I want to see TJ's beautiful Wildcat. I can't wait to see that. I can't wait to see, what everybody brings. I want to see what all you guys out there, they're working on the Mach-A kits. I cannot wait to see all those suits out there and whatever we all have out there. It's going to be great. I think I'm going to try and bring I finished up my 5th dwarf. So I'm going to bring that as a collection this year. I have 5 of them done, all based up and all basically the same. So I'm going to try that as a collection this year. So I've never done that before. So something different, something fun, anything to, do something different, having fun. And one of these days there'll be another nationals closer to the West Coast where I can drive and bring a little bit more. But, until then, I'll just be flying with my Pelican case.
Nice. I'll round us out. I'm flying as well. I was going to drive, but I think I have some work obligations and it's going to make me fly in. But with that, I'll be limited in space. And I've just been busy this year with a new gig, and a lot of my modeling has been suffered a lot. And I realize now we're 75 days away from Nats, and half of that time I'm going to be away from the bench, either traveling for work or on holiday. So finishing a project between now and then is going to be difficult. I think the one thing that I have that's closest to the finish line is this M4A3 Sherman 76 that I was just talking about. Put some OD on it, but I think I can get it done in time. And then I have a few older projects, but what I think I'm going to do is finish that Sherman. And then the time in July when I get back is really going to be dedicated to kind of preparing the models for nationals. One of the things is I do a lot of plank, tank on a plank. I do want to level up a little bit just on a basic base, even if it's just a wood plank with some groundwork, whether it be, tarmac or mud, a grass field, like that's what I need to do. And I want to do that. If I can bring 4 or 5 kits ranging from 35th scale down to 72nd, obviously the FJ's going, the Sherman, the Zwischen Lunsung, those things, if I can get them on a nice base and I have a pretty good sized box, I will travel with them and be very, very happy once I get there in one piece. I'm with TJ. I think it's bringing them home is the worst part, especially at the end, the mad dash at the nationals late at night. And then if you flood the table with like 10 or 12 entries, you almost have to like reconcile with pictures when you came, like, okay, what did I bring and what did I leave here? And, there was some instances of in the morning trying to go to the concierge area and finding somebody's built model. I think Doc Anderson's his Firefly is still out there somewhere in the ether. So somebody from Omaha either took it on purpose or by neglect, but he does not have it anymore. It wasn't in the room the next day either. So someone's got a collector's item from a doctor, a published doctor, no less. So, but anyway, jokes aside, it's always the return trip home that's kind of the most stressful. And, at that rate, like TJ said, it's almost like, okay, I got home and I'm with you. I'm thinking of Commies Fest that was back almost 2 months ago. The stuff I brought to that show is literally in the box I brought it home with. Brought it home, took it down in the basement, put it in the one closet. I like to keep kits that aren't in my display cabinets, and they just sit there. But yeah, same kind of vibe.
You talk about updating your bases. That's something I actually did that this last couple of weeks because I didn't have a lot of time. I had two figure sets that I worked pretty hard to get done for Commies Fest and Seattle. And I went back these last couple of weeks and just like redressed them, cleaned them up, added a few odds and ends, cleaned the grass up, put some new grass on, did some odds and ends, and they look good. And I actually worked on a little OSL for the first time for one of my figures, and it turned out decent. And so, sometimes it's not just the new kit, but, cleaning things up, moving things around, just, that old, and I think that's a good idea too. If you don't have the time, maybe just clean up a few things here and there and get them ready.
Yeah. 100%. Scott, you're flying in too. I think if everybody on the call here, with exception to TJ, is flying in.
Yeah, I think so.
Nice. I think Jensen's driving.
Yeah. He's taking the slow boat over.
Technically he is driving, because he's riding with me. However, he has to fly here first. Yeah, okay. So he's doing both. He gets the best of both worlds.
Oh, yeah. He gets, yeah.
We should put him on the Nina the Pinta or the Santa Maria on the way over. He can land at Plymouth Rock, see Doc, and then get down to the nation's capital. All right, on to our next topic. I'm going to kick it over to Grant to show us what's up in the Plastic Posse group on Facebook.
All right, guys, let's go into what we've also highlights from the Facebook page for the last couple of weeks. First, I'm going to start off with myself because, I'm introducing it. I'm going to go with Gary Baker. He did a 148 scale ATRT of the Republic. I know Gary, talked to him a few times on Facebook and messaged him a couple times. He's a local guy out here, San Diego, does some fantastic figure work, really, really good figure work. The base on this is he brought the backup, like you've seen a little bit more on figures. So it's basically, he's got a forest scene behind this AT, and it's got like a moon back there. He painted it all by hand. It's fabulous. It's really, really good. It turned out really, really well. And if you don't know, Gary Baker is part of the San Diego club down there, IPMS. He will be judging on June 3rd at the show that we'll all be attending. So I'm mentioning his name so he can remember my name when the kits are there. So Gary Baker, Grant Mayberry says you're good. What about you, Doug? What do you think?
Well, I was scanning through the Plastic Posse Facebook page, and I mean, there's some amazing work there. One that stood out to me, and maybe it was right after I looked at TJ's Wildcat, but I saw Martin Holst had done to me a 1/72nd scale Corsair. I don't think he was quite done with it, but if it was mine, it would be beyond done. It's beautiful. Beautiful paint work. Very, very nice chipping on it. You got a good view. I mean, really good look at the primer underneath, but it wasn't in any way overdone. It's really a beautiful kit.
Yeah, I agree with that, Doug. It's really nice. And Martin also has been working on a little 1/72nd scale diorama with scenery and everything. Yep. I mean, he's been doing a lot of really great work and participating in the forum. So Martin, keep up the great work, man. Loving your stuff.
Yeah, he does some great work. The vignette that he's working on is really nice. Like we said, the vegetation is really good. Scott, what about you?
I've got a couple. I mean, the first, we've talked about it already, but I want to talk about the twins, both TJ and Ian's Wildcats. I mean, they're just really, really great. It's awesome to see a couple of armor guys give their takes on these Wildcats. And, they were pretty abused and beat up. So I really like what they did. TJ's build, I really like the weathering on it. It looks really fantastic. It's probably a little bit cleaner take than Ian's, but I really think they're both sharp, and just don't get tired of looking at pictures of those. And then the other one I saw that kind of caught my eye. It's an unusual subject. You don't see it done a lot. is our buddy Zach Pease, and he's done one of the Bandai U-Wing kits, and he's done it in a sort of off cannon, technically, I guess, a scheme with green striping on it. But it was cool to see it, and then he's incorporating that into, you know, base and structures and everything, and so that was really, really cool. So great job on that, Zach, and TJ and Ian. Just I love your cats, man.
Yeah, the cats are looking really good. And, you know, Zach's is really nice too. I like the bunker that he built basically around the sides of that one. It kind of reminds me of the bunkers you see in the aircraft bunkers from the Middle East and stuff like that. So great idea, great concept. I really like what he's doing there. TJ, what about you?
Well, first, thank you, Scott. I appreciate the kind words. We are, in fact, two wild and crazy cats, so it only makes sense that Ian and I were able to knock that out. But okay, for my pick, I'm gonna go with Stuart McKellen's New Spotter. I love the New Spotter. It's one of those, I don't know, it's just one of those, like, it's one of those Koyoyama designs that's just like, okay, I get it. That's pretty cool. It's kind of creepy, mechanical. It's got long spindly arms. You don't see them built a whole lot for whatever reason. I mean, I know the kit's recently coming back into production. It's been out of production for a long time. But even then, I don't know, it's just not one you really see. And I'm really happy that Stuart is building one. I think he's got it ready for primer. Yeah, it's really cool. He even kind of it comes with the little kid with the stick. I can't remember that kid's name. He has a name, but he had it like set up with the kid, like in the foreground, and the New Spotter behind us, like looking down at him. I don't know. It's a cool, like, little scene. I mean, it's all bare plastic so far, but yeah, that's what I picked. You know, I love me some Mac, and I like the weird stuff that you don't see a whole lot of, like the New Spotter, the Kraken Vogel, all that, like that weird spindly stuff. Mm-hmm. I dig it.
Yeah, it's like you say, you don't see that kit very often, and I don't know if it's just the overall size of it or whatever. But the spindly arms are great, you know, and the little dish on the sides. That's a neat kit. I really like that kit.
That's one of those kits where if it's at a show, mm-hmm. everyone that walks past it, they're like, what is that? Like, mm-hmm. I've been to shows where there's been a New Spotter on the table. It's not mine, so I've never built one. Mm-hmm. And everyone looks at it and they're like, what the hell is that? Because it is weird looking. Yeah. And it instantly just, I don't know, it's tall, so it usually stands above everything else on the table, but it's just one of those designs that instantly, like, you either love it or you hate it. And I am very much in the love it camp.
Yeah. There's also a different version, and it has the 6 launchers on the pipe halfway down, but I can't remember
That's
the name of that
Kraken Vogel.
There you go, Kraken Vogel. Yeah.
I have one of those too. So.
Yeah. They re-released that one too, I believe. So yeah, that's a new one. That's a nice one. All right, JB, what about you?
I'll just quickly note I'm in the other camp for the New Spotter and Kraken Vogel.
Well, there's always got to be one.
That's right. We'll just leave it at that. I'm going to cheat. I actually picked 2. I think Steve Ortman's Puma is really nice. A tritone man myself. It's just gorgeous. He did a bang up job on it. Really crisp build, really crisp paint scheme, and overall really nice finish. So great work, Steve. And then I got to give a shout out to Rob Riviezo's R35 as well. I consider him probably one of the best photo etch guys around. I think his soldering work, and it's just really crisp. And one day I hope to have a chance to paint one of his models if I see him in person and can pick it up. So keep up the great work, Rob. Really enjoy that build.
Yeah, it's a really nice, that R35 is a really nice kit. All right, so we've got some upcoming model shows, but I'm going to hand it over to Scott to talk about them.
All right. Thanks, Grant. Appreciate that. So first up, we have the San Diego Model Expo, which is Saturday, June 3rd at the San Diego Air and Space Museum Annex. So all of you that are out there in that Southern California area, I hear that's a great show. I know, Grant, you've been to a few of those, so make sure you guys get out there and support them for that.
Yeah, I'll be out there, everybody. Come in and say hi, please. I'll be walking around with the shirt on and got some stickers for everybody and some kits to drop off for the raffle. They usually have a fantastic raffle, too, so it's always really good.
Awesome. Of course, we've got the IPMS Nationals in San Marcos, Texas, 2nd through the 5th of August. That's going to be a blast. Hope to see a whole bunch of you there. Saturday, August 19th, we have the Best of the West Model Show. Our good friend Joe Porcher and a consortium of a bunch of modeling clubs down there in Las Vegas. We went last year. It was great. I'm going to try and get there again this year as well. That's going to take place at the Orleans Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas on, again, Saturday, August 19th. So if you're in the area and you could make it, go check it out. I know you won't be disappointed. We have on October 1st, we have IPMS Orange Con Model Show. Again, another one of Grant's haunts. That's over in Buena Park, California, right, Grant?
That's it. It's this year. It's a new place, but it's going to be a great show. It's on a Sunday. So remember that when you're looking at the date, people. But, it's Orange Con is always fun. You see a lot of great stuff out there, and it's definitely worth the drive.
Nice. Then, of course, we've got PAXCon 2023, a.k.a. Geek Fest. This is going to be an every other year show put on by our good friends over at the Model Geeks, as well as the club that they're in. That's going to take place at the Hollywood Volunteer Fire Department in Hollywood, Maryland. So the other Hollywood. And that's going to be on October 7th. So if you guys can support them, and hopefully that first show will be a huge success. I know they've been working on this thing for like a couple of years now. So we're excited for them, and we wish them all the best on that. We also have Scale Model Challenge over in Eindhoven in the Netherlands, October 14th and 15th. And I believe a couple of us Yankees are going to go over there and attend that this year.
Heck yeah, can't wait.
We also have in October on the 20th and 21st, the MMSI show at the Chicago Marriott in Schaumburg, Illinois. I went last year. It was fantastic. I'm going again this year. Mr. Mayberry, I believe, is also going to attend.
I'll be there. I've got tickets and everything already.
Maybe need to keep leaning on TJ and see if we can get him there too. Yep. It's a great show.
He'll be in the Netherlands with me.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Well, all right. Maybe next year.
Trust me, I want to, but I can't go to the Netherlands one weekend and then go to Chicago the weekend after that. I'm not James Bond, and I'm not a millionaire, and unfortunately I cannot swing both, or I would love to.
Of course, you have Scale Model World, Telford in the United Kingdom, November 11th and 12th. And I'm sure, based on what we saw there last year, it's going to be another fantastic show for our friends over in the UK. So a full schedule of events. If you have events that you'd like us to talk about, make sure you email those over to us at plasticpossepodcast@gmail.com, and we'll throw them in our list here. But if you have a chance and you're close to one of these events, please attend. You'll have a great time. All right, so I'm going to move over to TJ with the Mac Group build update.
The Triple P Mac Group build is sponsored by Bases by Bill. Bases by Bill specializes in making beautifully crafted wooden custom display solutions for scale models. Built by modelers for modelers, these premium quality display cases and innovative base designs are available for just about any model and size. Their custom sized display bases ranging from 4 to 30 inches provide the perfect foundation for dioramas and vignettes. And remember, if you don't see what you need, just ask. Chances are they can customize the perfect solution for you. Check out basesbybill.com and see their new custom display products for busts and figures. Use the code Posse15 at checkout to apply a 15% listener discount to your order. Bases by Bill for all your model display needs. All right, yeah, so do a quick little rundown of what's going on in the Mac Group. Lin Young is back on his Hornus and looking pretty good. It's got that cool purple and green World War I themed camouflage. I think it looks like he's got it mounted on a little base, which looks pretty cool. So that's another interesting kit. You don't see it built a whole lot, so I'm glad that that Lynn's tackling that one. Chris Whitfield, who is a local buddy of mine who joined our AMPS chapter, he did a little Mark 44 vignette with the pilot standing out of it. It's on a little vignette base. I've seen the Mark 44 in person. It is fantastic. It's really, really good. I love the Mark 44. He did a great job on it. He, I think, posted a little video too. That's also linked in the Facebook group, and then also some pictures of the final build. So yeah, good to see that in a group, and even better to see it in person. Of course, Bill Huffman's raccoon is fantastic as always. I think he's got another video with more of the craziness he's got going on the base. Chris Wesley is working on his Grusser Hund, also really cool. seeing that and then seeing Lynx just built 2 of them. I really want to build one of those. I have one, and they're pretty cool. I wasn't really sold on them, but the more I see them and the more I see them done well, which Chris is doing, it makes me really want to build mine. Craig Flynn posted some more photos of his Mel, which is pretty great. And then, of course, Cliff Herring is Mark 44. That's riddled with Easter eggs. I think he's working on the gun on this last post. So, yeah, I cannot wait to see that one in person. I'm really excited about it. Okay, so with that, let's go over to Doug and let's get into a little bit of feedback.
Well, I'm sorry, but there's not a little bit of feedback tonight. I think I've got a lot. We got some really nice stuff. I'm going to start with a fairly long letter. I'll just kind of summarize a little bit of it from Jacob Akana. I hope I pronounced your name right. He started modeling in 2020, and thanks to everyone's favorite uncle, has been listening to the pod since about episode 6. He didn't get involved in the modeling community until the 48 and 48 build of this year, which led to a number of Facebook groups and finally the AMPS International show. He says to address everyone listening who may still be modeling alone, which is not wrong. The hobby can still be fun this way. Give the community a shot. At minimum, try to join an online group. If you can, stop by a show near you. I never knew what I was missing. Although I do not fit the typical armor modeler demographic, I was welcomed with open arms. Aside from seeing some great models and wandering around the vendor tables, I got to meet and chat with a bunch of the AMPS masters. These guys who have made some of the best models ever over the past couple of decades, all of whom were familiar with the podcast, by the way, were both kind and knowledgeable and taking the time to chat with a lowly general attendee like me. To say that I had a great time is an understatement. Anyway, in short, thank you so much to all of the Posse guys. Without you, I don't know where I would be in the hobby right now. Although I don't have a modeling BFF yet, I dipped my feet in the water and I can tell you that it is perfect. Keep doing your best with the podcast. That way, people like me can be better convinced to get online, get out of the house, and enjoy everything our wonderful hobby has to offer.
Man, how cool is that feedback, Jacob? Super glad to hear that. I'm glad that obviously you listen and we appreciate that. But way to go on getting out of your comfort zone and going to an event. And like you mentioned, the people that went to AMPS Nationals. There's not a greater group of people around. Some of our own guys, TJ, but, Neil Stokes and, on and on and on. I mean, I just list dozens of these guys, but great job, way to participate. And that's what this is all about.
Yes, Scott, I agree. That's really great. And I'm really glad to see that. It's so nice to see that, we've been able to help. But, what was great is the talk he had with the AMPS masters too. That, that just shows you the quality of the AMPS guys to reach out, touch a new guy, help him, understand what he needs to do, go head forward, do this, do that. That's really good. And if you're looking for a model BFF, hey, Grant Mayberry, give me a call or send me a message and we'll talk.
We can raffle that off at Nats. The opportunity to be Jacob's modeling BFF.
There you go.
All right. George Welch, somehow in going through your back catalog during my extensive drive time, I somehow missed episode 38. Fantastic interviews with both Stan Spooner and John Murphy. Also, on a separate note, I was wondering if JB had anything like his build of the new Tamiya Panzer IV that he did for the 1/16th Das Werk Stug 3. Can't thank you guys enough for putting out your wonderful podcast and always maintaining an extremely high quality level while remaining positive, inclusive, and good-natured along the way.
That's a great question. And the answer is yes. I can post them on Patreon. I'll make that commitment. So stay tuned. I will do a photo dump of the Stug build. I have intent to write an article someday, but I'll throw the pictures into Patreon. That's no problem at all.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And David Waffles said, hi all, enjoyed the show as always. Your guest spoke about ceramic wire for antennas. This is one of the most obscure products in our hobby, and I've never seen it sold anywhere except by a couple who market it under the name Precision Enterprises. This product has been mostly used by World War I aircraft modelers for rigging because its properties cause it to be perfectly straight no matter what you do to it. You can coil it, bend it almost 90 degrees before it will break, and it always go back to being perfectly straight. It only comes in one diameter size, and if I remember right, it comes in coils of about 10 feet. It's remarkable stuff and worth having in your collection. Another good antenna material are Austerlitz inspection pins. These are museum quality and apparently made of steel. They too are flexible and like to stay straight and have an enamel coating. I've never had an issue with the coating flaking off. They come in 3 diameter sizes that I'm aware of, which are size 1, 2, and 3, size 1 being the smallest in diameter. Caution, they are lethal with very sharp points, not too expensive, and you can buy them on Amazon. That's a great tip.
Yeah, it is. That's a good idea.
We have Sean Stevens, who previously posted that he's a new listener. He says, I'm catching up with past episodes and getting to know the vibe. I really enjoy the discussions that go beyond the artistic and technical aspects of the hobby. There is a great amount of satisfaction that comes from completion of the build, but what seems to keep a lot of us in the hobby are the community, friends, and emotional bonds we've created through modeling. My favorite memories of my childhood and teenage years are the trips my stepdad, Phil, and I would take to the hobby shops around northeastern Ohio.
There you go.
Hey,
Good call.
Sean, I'm going to guess northeastern Ohio on that. Sorry. He and later my father-in-law were highly influential in my life and really supportive. They've both passed on many years ago now. For me, it's not about how many models I finish when I'm modeling. I miss my dad's a little less.
I can relate to that. And also I can, if he is talking about Northeast Ohio, that was my old stomping grounds for hobby shops. So Parma, Wings, Jack's, Depot Trains down in Youngstown area was Amers and Boardman Hobby. So that was kind of a rich area in the Rust Belt for our hobby shop. So can definitely relate there. Awesome to have that little bit of nostalgia brought out.
Okay, and we had a bunch of great work submitted by Posse friends, including Stephen Ortman, who first of all loved our interview with Jethro Billings, and he shared his Puma, which was actually, who was that? That was JB that talked about his Puma earlier.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Joshua Scott, our friend from the Pacific Northwest, has been sharing a bunch of stuff, including his newest Gundam. He's going to try scribing some things that he's never done before. It's kind of out of his comfort zone, but he's given it a try and he's sharing it with the Posse. Stuart McClelland has his 7-second scale Japanese ground self-defense force Type 10 tank. It's basically his $5 build. It's got a rattle can paint and some glazes, but it's really cool. I suggest you check that out and a bunch of other stuff that's on there. And finally, Tim Campbell he started enjoying making bases almost as much as building the model itself. So you can check out Tim's work, all these other guys' works, and dozens of others if you just go check out the Plastic Posse Facebook page. Remember that you can send your feedback and suggestions to us via email at plasticpossepodcast@gmail.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The Plastic Posse podcast is sponsored by Tankcraft, makers of the highest quality cutting mats for your workbench. Tankcraft cutting mats are heavy-duty, self-healing, come in 2 awesome sizes, and have World War II tanks and aircraft blueprint-style drawings on them. Spread out your next build on an olive green M4 Sherman or a Dunkelgelb King Tiger. They've got aircraft too. Check out all the designs and range of unique modelling tools at tankcraft.com. That's TANKRAFT.com. And remember, Plastic Posse podcast listeners can use the code POSSE15 to get 15% off your first order.
Anyway, it's time for our second discussion topic here, isn't it? Is it TJ talking about AMPS?
I would love to talk about AMPS. So as some of you may know, the reason why I was not in our last episode, I think Scott or one of you guys I know mentioned it when I listened back to it. I was at the AMPS International Convention in Camp Hill, Pennsylvania, which is right outside Harrisburg, which is not too far from my house. It's less than 2 hours, so it was pretty cool. I went up Thursday. I got there around noon, Friday around noon. The show technically started Thursday afternoon. Jackson was up there already. Zach was up there already. A bunch of other people. I had to work, so I drove up on Friday straight from work. It was a really, really good show. That was my first AMP show ever. I've been a member of AMPS for a number of years. I've never been to an AMP show since I started a chapter with Jackson and Pat and Jeff. I figured it would probably be a good idea to actually go to AMPS Nats, and I'm really glad I did. I know JB has been to an AMPS Nats. I don't know if any of you other guys have. It's definitely a different vibe than IPMS Nats. For one, it's much, much smaller. Of course, armor focused because it's AMPS. I'll start with the one thing I did not like, and I think I mentioned this in one of the numerous chats I'm in. Because of the ramrod system in the judging system, the display tables are not very full for most of the show. It's the only negative I can really find with the way that AMPS runs things. For those of you that don't know, the Ramrod system is when you bring your models to AMPS, you check in, then you go over to the Ramrod, you check in all your models. The Ramrod guy goes through, checks everything off, make sure everything's right on your paperwork. You then hand your models over to him, and a runner comes and gets them, and they take them into the judging room, and there they will lie until judging your models is complete. So I got there Friday at noon. I think I had my stuff. I had to fill out all my paperwork by hand because my freaking printer wouldn't work the night before, and I was pissed. So I had to fill out like 12 forms by hand. I was very angry about that. So I think I got my paperwork to him maybe 12:30, 12:40-ish. I don't think my models made it to the table until sometime Saturday morning, which is fine. But yeah, that's the only thing. Like it's a pretty big show. I don't remember the numbers, but I want to say they had like 800, 900 models. Like it's a fair amount of tanks, maybe even more. I can't remember. But for most of the show, there's not a whole lot to look at. That being said, everyone's still hanging out. You can still meet people, have a good time. I didn't get to go to any of the seminars because I missed like Hobbs' seminar, which I was disappointed in because he did one on the business side of the hobby because David Hobbs works on the business side with kit design, all that kind of stuff. And our buddy Jeff Feller did one on carving stone, like stone walls out of pink foam, kind of like Martin style. I really wanted to go to that because Jeff is a really, really, really good diorama maker. Luckily, I know Jeff, so I just have him show me at a meeting when it's convenient for him. So yeah, and I want to say that the seminars were kind of a new idea. I don't think they had really done those before. I may be wrong on that, John.
They used to do them way back in the day. They've always kind of had seminars, but I think what I've taken away is that they've really kind of ramped them back up because back early 2000s, Adam Wilder, Rinaldi, like those big heavy hitters would give seminars and they were really interactive. I think a lot of that kind of went to the wayside. Not a bad thing, but I think they made a commitment to really focusing on quality seminars this year because that's what I noticed different. Because the last AMPS I went to was Buffalo before the pandemic, 2019. And I don't even recall the seminars, if there were seminars or if they were given. I don't think they were that well attended, but they made a concerted effort to really bump up the value in that part of the show this year, I think.
Yeah, and I heard from everyone that went to the ones that were there, I heard nothing but good things.
Yeah.
Especially like from Jeff's, because like I said, Jeff does amazing work. He's an AMPS master. I think he won best in show, might have been last year, so he's a new AMPS master. I've seen the model that won best at show. It was last year because he brought it to the IPMS show in Richmond in February where I met him in person. I mean, just gorgeous work. Jeff's great. And I heard that the business seminar was pretty good too. I mean, if anyone that knows David Hobbs knows that, I mean, Dave just is a little fountain of information on that side of our hobby, which is eminently interesting to hear what goes into making the kits that we like to build, right? And that's what Dave does. And it's really cool. Luckily, since I know Dave, I can talk to him about it like off board, which is cool too, because then get to learn some things that maybe not everyone knows, which is pretty neat because everyone likes those little tidbits of information. The atmosphere is kind of similar to the IPMS Nats. Obviously, it's less people. And I have to, huge tip of the hat to Matt Schaefer for hosting us dinner Friday night over at I think it was called the Grateful Goat. It was a little brew pub kind of like right next, right adjacent to the hotel where the show was. He hosted a Posse dinner. He bought my dinner and my beer, which I was very surprised by and did not request it in any way, but he refused to accept payment. He also bought Jackson's, which Jackson was like, I don't know what I did to deserve this. I'm like, I don't know what you did to deserve it either, buddy, but here we are. But just say thank you. And then that started a wild night that I had that we don't necessarily need to get into. Drinking was involved. Yeah, not my proudest moment, but I had a good time. The hangover was rough the next morning until it wasn't. And then I was okay. And then we just did it all over again. We did not go as hard the next night after the award ceremony, but plenty of beers were drank after that. I got to meet Taesung from Alpine Miniatures, super cool guy. Me and Nuke Man Mike were talking to him, and as we're talking about figures, he pours me a shot of whiskey, which was pretty great because I'm standing on the floor of AMPS and drinking whiskey with Taesung, and Mike, which was pretty cool.
That's awesome. I know Nuke Man was super excited, and he had to deal with the kids at that trip. So
yeah.
No, it looked like there were a lot of great stuff on the table. Like you said, AMPS is super dedicated to armor. Now, I will say they do include sci-fi as well. They have opened up to that genre, which is really cool.
Sci-fi ground vehicles is a very important caveat. You cannot bring an X-wing, a Y-wing, none of that stuff. It has to be ground vehicles. So you bring like an ATST and an AT-AT, that kind of stuff. I brought the Oscar, which it hovers, but it's technically a ground vehicle because it does not fly. It it's a hovering vehicle, so that one counted. Yeah, it was pretty cool. So the one thing, and there, I think Stephen Reed was talking about it. If someone will sponsor it, they will do a best science fiction award, which they do not currently do.
Maybe the Posse needs to step in here.
So I'm going to talk to Stephen about that, because when he mentioned that, I'm like, that they would do it if someone sponsored it. I'm like, okay, that's all you have to say.
Yeah.
We can find someone to sponsor that, because there was some really good science, and it's not just science fiction. They lump science fiction with fictional, real world things, hypotheticals, that sort of thing. That all gets lumped together. So yeah, you see Machine and Krieger, like Craig Jarbo's Machine and Krieger was there. Fantastic. And congratulations on Craig's, I think he had 6 or 7 wins. Wow. And I think he won gold, so he moved up to advanced, which was pretty cool. He should have been in advanced anyways, because his models are really good. That's neither here nor there. He didn't think they belonged in advanced. I disagree. So I think now he will have to be in advance. So that's something I guess we can kind of touch on, is the judging system at AMPS, especially compared to like IPMS, and the category, the levels in AMPS, because that is something that IPMS shows don't do, but maybe kind of should, because I like that idea. Because John, you've competed at numerous you don't compete at an AMP show. You've displayed at numerous AMP shows, so you can speak to it better than I, because this was my first one. But kind of give a rundown of like what the levels at AMPS are.
Yeah, this is where I think IPMS and AMPS really diverge, not only in how the models are, I should say evaluated, because that's really what AMPS does. They evaluate your work based on a criteria, not against the other models on the table. So it's truly an evaluation of your progress in the hobby. And they're very, very good at documenting the areas of your specific build in terms of against a set criteria. So there's a segment on construction, finish, overall consistency. They even have an extra half point for research, which again, I love Armor Modeling and Preservation Society. The P stands for preservation. They're big into research, preserving not only vehicles, but the history around them. So if you do your homework, very much include that in your entry, because it'll be evaluated part of the judging process. So it's not only your work, but the overall effort towards that piece. Now, that said, if you've never entered an AMPS before, it's really interesting. I actually love it. There's juniors, obviously, but then when you go into the adult categories, there's 3 really distinct major classes. And then there's one last one, which I'll get to. And it's pretty straightforward. There's beginner, intermediate, and advanced. So if you're very new to the hobby, highly recommend beginner. It's an area where, there's a little bit lighter on the evaluation standpoint. It's much more, I'm trying to think of the right way to approach. It's very educational. It's very supportive, I guess you could say. Every class is
teaching.
It's a teaching. Yes. It's a teaching class where if you're new to the hobby, you can enter your work. They'll give you extensive feedback on how to improve. And then if you gold, you go into intermediate, which is a little bit harder judging. And then if you gold in intermediate, you go to advanced. And advanced is where if you're an average modeler, I hate to use the word average, but if you're a typical modeler, you build a couple kits a year, always enter your first show in intermediate, unless ask your friends, but typically they put you in intermediate just so you can get your feet wet and really understand how the show works. That said, they will evaluate your work, grade it, and if you get a gold, you go to advanced. And when you're in advanced, I think really once you're at that stage, it's always chasing, I call the perfect score. So it's 31 It's not 30. So there are 4 judges.
30.5.
30.5 because of extra credit. Sorry.
Yep.
So when your model's being judged, it's judged by, gosh, I keep saying the J word. I don't like that word. When your model is being evaluated, it's evaluated by 4 individuals, and each one of them have a scorecard, and the lowest score is dropped, and it totals up to 30 with a half-point bonus for research. So the really big thing is to get, go after that perfect score once you're in advanced, and then get that research point, half point that is. And I think we're pretty proud to say, Jackson, how many perfect scores did he have?
So he had 4 golds, 2 of which were, at least 2, maybe 3 were perfect scores.
Yeah. For some reason, 3 sticks out for some reason. But yeah, he crushed it. And I think it makes things easier for AMPS, because when they look at the best of show in each of those classes, major classes and best of show, obviously, they pull all the perfect scores, or at least most of them, I think. I think they pull all of them.
They do. They pull them all.
Yeah, they pull all perfect scores. So that's really cool. So again, TJ mentioned, as you bring your model in, it goes to the ramrod station. They put it behind the closed doors. They judge. They bring it out. And then what's really cool is if your piece disappears, because that means you're in the running for something special. And I think a lot of people in our crew were in that running. And definitely got to give a shout out to Zach Grizz bringing home some crystal from that event. It was his little digger tractor pushing a flak wagon into a ditch with a little dude. He won best vignette. So super, super big shout out to Zach Grizz on that. But yeah, overall, that's really the structure. 3 different classes. Your work is evaluated based on the merits of their standards in each of those classes. You're not competing against anyone until the end of the show if you're in the running for some of those best categories. And even that point, it's still based on the score in which you did. Usually you can tell pretty easily the best of categories. And special shout out to Greg Hanchuk. He did Boys in the Hood, which was a Russian diorama. They were in Syria. I did not see the piece, but I've known Greg's work for the last over 20 years. I met him back in the early 2000s. He's an Ohio guy. He has been so close to Masters for literally over a decade. And it's really cool to see him win it. And I wish I was there to support him. I was on a text chain afterwards and super proud of him. He is a fantastic modeler. And when I mentioned Master, that's that 4th niche category where you're in the 3, broader ones. But once you win Best of Show at AMPS, you can no longer go back into the general public, I guess you could say. You enter in the Masters category. In the Masters category, there's only one class in that, and it's your work. So you bring your work, and it's evaluated. And if you do not score a gold in Masters, you do not get an award. They do not hand out bronzes and silvers in Masters. So if you're not gold worthy, the Master is not given an award. And I kind of like that, to be honest. And the other thing I will note, and I really appreciate this about AMPS, and it's an interesting thing, because when people talk about open judging, they're like very worried about how many awards they give away. Okay, if you're concerned about that, I would recommend taking the AMPS approach. AMPS only gives you a physical medal for the highest award in a specific class. And when I say class, they're broader categories. So think of modern armor 35th scale, World War II armor 35th scale. I don't even know if they break it down Axis versus Allies. Yeah,
they do, but they don't break down scale.
Oh, okay. So that even makes it broader. So I think that is a great approach where everything is evaluated on its own merit, and your highest piece in that class is given an award. So like, I think TJ, you probably had a couple medals in one category, but you were only given one physical medal for that group that was in that specific category.
Yes. So really it was only the one category. 2. I had 2 figures, and then and I disagree with this, they made me put my tractor, which I consider a vignette, into wheeled vehicles. That's the other thing I forgot to mention. I disagreed with the ramrod on that, but I was more or less overruled. The rules don't say a vignette has to have a figure, so my vignette doesn't have a figure. It's an abandoned tractor with a bird and a fence on ground. I wanted to enter it in vignette, so the entire thing would be judged, not just the tractor. But the guy's like, oh, it doesn't have a figure. Well, it doesn't have to have a figure as a vignette. It should have a figure as a vignette, but that's not what the rules say. Oh, we're going to put it in wheeled. Okay. I wasn't there to start a fight. I mean, okay, sure, whatever. That's fine. So because of that, I had 3 things in wheeled vehicles. And I actually think the tractor scored the highest. So that is technically what medaled in that category.
Yeah, and I think
it was like a 29. I think it was my highest scoring one. It was pretty good.
I think what's interesting too about AMPS is they don't, for that, if you put a figure, if you put a certain type of base, their rules are not as stringent as IPMS. If you want the vehicle judged and you don't want groundwork judged, let's say you did do a vignette, you could put it in a regular category and have the vehicle judged by itself. If you can have a tree on it, you can have something higher than the vehicle, you can have a complex base, but they're very respectful of the modeler's wishes. And they don't complicate things. I feel it's pretty straightforward there. And, the crew there, they've been doing a very long time. I really appreciated. They showed some pictures online of Cookie Sewell. He's kind of the grandfather of AMPS, started back in Maryland in the 90s and really is the one to thank for what it is today. And it's a core group of individuals. Unfortunately, I've been separated from, it's mainly an East Coast thing, to be honest. Yes, there are clubs around the country, but the AMPS Nats is typically East Coast. It'll go far west as South Bend, Indiana. But other than that, it is an East Coast show, but it's a great show. They draw a lot of people from New England, all the way from Florida, Ohio. I mean, literally, if you're east of the Mississippi, you're probably going to that show. And they draw some Westerners. I will definitely be going to South Bend. I've decided I will have my car full of probably 30 or 40 models because I haven't entered in 5 years there, but really looking forward to it. I think they do a great job. AMPS is a great organization. That's what those growing up, my dad and I, we went to a lot of shows. The biggest ones were obviously IPMS Nationals, but AMPS, despite being its size, was still the most fun because I love tanks, but it was just a different vibe there. Like you said, TJ, it's much, there's pockets of that social atmosphere at the Nationals, but it seemed like at AMPS, it's infectious around it's a different world. Let's just say that.
I've got a question real quick. Sorry, TJ. You said you had to get a gold medal. Is it just one, or do you have to get a certain number of gold medals before you jump a category?
1 gold.
Yeah. So if you enter in any category, it doesn't matter in basic or intermediate. Mm-hmm. Your first gold, nothing else you can do. The next show can be in that category. You have to move up. Okay. And then about that, you can enter in whatever category you want or whatever level you want. Mm-hmm. The Ramrod will politely recommend you a category, but he cannot change your category. And you'll hear Ramrods talk about that. Like, this guy brought something in and he's like, no, I'm advanced. And you look at it, it's clearly not advanced, which is fine. Mm-hmm. And they'll try their best. Like, you would do better if you enter it in basic or intermediate. No, I'm advanced. Okay, but you would do better. Nope, I'm advanced. No problem. You will be in advanced, which is fine. I mean, I'm okay with that. Mm-hmm. I had a chance to judge with Stephen Reed, who's great, Zach, and Jackson. There's the 4 of us, the dream team. It was great. We did one session, or we definitely judged some stuff that probably shouldn't have been entered in advance. But that's at the modeler's discretion. So we judged it like we would judge an advanced entry. And I will say, the one thing I like about this system of judging, and the same thing at like the Atlanta show, as a judge or an evaluator, if you will, our goal is to reward the modeler for his hard work, right? Like, when I judge, I want that guy or girl, I want that person to get the highest medal that they can get, because A, they deserve it, and B, it feels good. That's it. I don't, yes, you have to look at the negative things, and sure, absolutely, we looked at the entries and like, okay, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. However, in our feedback, you always tell them everything that they did good, even if there's not that much. In a couple of them, there wasn't that much to write good, right? But it doesn't matter because they tried, they put it out there, they were willing to give you the chance as a judge. And yeah, I know John mentioned it before, the feedback is really, really important. And I like to think that I worked pretty hard on the feedback. I hope that the people that models I judged when they read my feedback, because you don't put your full name, but you put your initials. So they may or may not know who I am. That's fine. I hope they appreciated everything that I told them. And I was very honest with everything I liked, everything I thought they did well, and everything I thought they could improve. And just like when I got all my feedback, but maybe one sheet, everything I read, I'm like, yep, both negative and positive. There was one I did not like, I did not agree with. That's okay. I know that model. I know what that model is. So I'll just leave it at that. That one wasn't like upset, but I just read it. I was like, I disagree, but okay. It is what it is. Also, my lowest scoring model. I was not too happy with that. I think it probably could have done better, but what are you gonna do? It's just a useless medal that is in a pile somewhere on the other side that will probably stay there.
I'm glad you brought that up, TJ, because what I really like about the AMP system is, aside from, the evaluation really focusing on trying to reward effort and also removing the element of competition, which, is a whole nother subject. But what I like about the feedback is a modeler can go to an AMP show, and recognition aside, they can still go home with a lot of benefit because they're going to get that specific feedback, and they're going to get the notes that you're talking about. And so I think there's a lot of value to them in the vein of, I call it in the vein of treating them like customers. They're going to walk away from that show, even if they don't bring home any hardware, with knowledge from other people saying, you did this really good, you did this really good, but there's a couple of opportunities here to improve. And I think there's a lot of value in that.
Oh, 100%. Just like I said, I took something from all the feedback from all of my sheets, right? I entered 11 things, so I had 11 feedback sheets. And that's the thing. So at the awards ceremony, when they announce the awards, is actually pretty cool, because they start with the bronze and the silvers, right? So anyone that got a bronze or a silver, they will read your name. And the way it's done is they read your name, they tell you how many medals you won, you walk up, they give you a big manila envelope that has your feedback sheets in it and your medals. That's it. That's all you do. It actually goes by pretty quick. Then if you don't hear your name the first round, then you got at least a gold in something. So even if you got bronze or a silver, if you got at least a gold, you are red with the gold people. At this national show, all the advanced modelers won at least one gold, which I think is a record. I don't think that's ever happened before, which was pretty cool.
That's impressive.
There's a lot of good work on the table. I mean, fortunately, sorry, Scott, I didn't take a whole lot of pictures. I suck at taking pictures. I've tried to explain this to you. You'll understand it one day. I'm not good at taking show pictures. Yeah, there's a lot of really good stuff. But since we're talking about awards, I have to talk about two things. One, we already mentioned, I think we mentioned both of them. Jackson winning 4 golds with at least 2, I think maybe 3 perfect scores. He had, I think, 3 things in contention for best of awards. The Tadpole, his Rolls-Royce armored car, and maybe the Samoa. I think that also got a perfect score. So that was awesome. And then my man Zach Grizzle rolling in there, winning 5 golds, only golds. That's it. That's all that man walked home with, which the look on his face when they announced his name and then said 5 golds after it was the look of just pure happiness. Like, you made that man's life. And it's good because Zach is an extremely good modeler, extremely good. He goes up and gets his medals, his little envelope. He comes back and sits down. He's like 2 seats away from me. My buddy Eric is sitting next to me, and he nudges me with his shoulders like, hey, look. I'm like, what? He's like, look at Zach. And Zach is holding his envelope, and his hands are trembling, right? Because he's so excited. He's literally shaking. He can't believe it. But then wait, it gets better, because when they start announcing the best of awards and they announce best vignette and they say Zach Grizzle for his tractor thing or whatever, he was even more excited, obviously, than winning the 5 golds. He was beside himself. And seeing those 2 young guys, first of all, just absolutely clean up. I mean, they won 9 gold medals and a best of award between the 2 of them. That alone right there was worth the drive all the way up there. It just was. It was like watching Natalie, my daughter, win best junior last year. Almost the same thing. They're like my kids too. So yeah, that was awesome. Like, what I won, I don't even care about. It doesn't even matter to me. That right there is what this was all about. And the number of people that were like swarming both Zach's, best winning vignette and almost everyone at Jackson builds. I mean, they were all over him. He was like the Beatles, right? Just the crowd of people around him asking him about all of their work. That is awesome. That is what I like to see. That is so much better than any stupid medal that I brought home. Seeing that is what really made it worth it to me, because I know it's cheesy to say, and I'm not that old, but like those guys are the future of the hobby, right? They're in their early 20s. We're all getting old. They're in their prime, and they're going to these shows, and they're just raking in award after award with just top shelf work, right? These guys have been modeling less time than like everyone else, and they're just absolutely crushing it, right? It's like, I think of it like when I used to skateboard when I was in high school. And then as like I got out of high school, I was still trying to skateboard. And then you'd see like 12-year-old kids show up at your skate spot or like in the skate park, and they're doing stuff that like you can't do now at like 18 years old or 19 years old. And they're like 12. I'm like, why can't I do that? I definitely couldn't do it when I was 12. I can't do it now. Like, what is going on here? It's that sort of thing. And that's what I think we should encourage, like these younger guys that go to these shows, like encourage them to, they're taking our place. That I think Ian won a gold. I took his T37. It won a gold. It's really good. It was the Coors build. I think when in one of our group chats, when we said that, the kids are winning all these golds, he was like, that's it, dudes. We're obsolete. Like, and that's true. In a way, like these guys they're the ones that are going to win all these damn awards. It's not me. Like they're going to do it. And that's what I want. I want them to do it. Like both of them have the potential to win a best in show within the next handful of years. Because I know both of them have projects up their sleeves that will garner that level of attention, deservedly so. They're not doing it to win that, but they're the type of projects that will win stuff like that, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, that nurturing, that encouragement, that recognition element versus just a competitive element is just it's really tremendous. And like you said, you got to tip your hat to the AMPS organization and the organizers and Cookie and all the people that have contributed, because I think that's really, really important that we, especially TJ, as you've really highlighted, a couple years ago when we started kind of hanging out online with Zach, he was a pretty good builder already, but he was afraid to paint anything almost. And, we kind of behind the scenes, kind of done what we can is, kind of putting our arms around him and pointing him in a direction. And this show is doing the same thing. And that's how I think we get more people involved in the hobby. And that's how you get people excited by teaching them, because everybody wants to learn. Everybody wants to get better. And it's not to say that, other styles of judging and other styles of shows don't have any place, but I think it definitely sets AMPS and systems like AMPS apart in their ability to really encourage people, to really pour some praise and pour some gasoline on that fire, that small little ember that started. And, some of them are going to go on to do great things more than they already have.
Yeah, I think for me with AMPS, it gives the way the classes are set up, beginner, intermediate, advanced, it gives everyone that comes to the show a chance to win an award. And I don't mean that from a participation standpoint. You earned that medal. You have entered in a class that is aligned with your current skill set, and you've met a standard, and you're being rewarded for it. It's not like other shows where 1, 2, 3, and I hate to say it, it is a limitation on exposure to the hobby for new individuals that come to a show. I hate to say it, but there's a lot of familiar names read each year at some of these shows. And it's the same names that drown out new names that really, I think, stunt the growth and the development of not only the modeler, but the hobby in general when it comes to public events. And I think AMPS does a fantastic job of allowing anyone, whether you've just built a model or you're chasing that perfect score in masters category, to have your name read and be called up on stage and receive recognition for your work. I think that type of approach, and that approach is very similar in a sense to MFCA, MMSI, that open system, the open system that it's about the individual, it's about their work, not a competition. It's just not that. It's all about, again, fostering growth, development in that person and sharing the love of the hobby. So I give AMPS a lot of credit for that. I think that's one of the reasons why they're a strong, very tight knit, jovial, collegial type of organization. And I'd love to see more of it. I think it's awesome. And you see more and more shows adopting that open system, which I think is the way to, grow the hobby in a lot of areas. I love AMPS. I really do.
They seem to embrace the modeler, his skills and where he's at, and pushes them farther and harder.
So seeing people move up a class at the award ceremony was awesome. I knew none of those people because this is my first show, but a lot of these guys, no, there was one woman, I'm sorry. So a lot of these people, because she moved up too, have been coming for years trying to move up.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's just like, I think Mark talked about it. Mark Sprayberry and I talked about it when we were in Atlanta. Same thing happens there. Obviously there's not classes, but he would see it too at the Atlanta show. Guys that they're bringing their work every freaking year and they're putting it out there and they're getting bronzes, they're getting silvers, and their work, and they are visibly improving with every model they do. Because same thing, just like at that show, you get feedback. The judges are there. They will tell you what you did well. I don't think we wrote it down, but who the judges are. The full name is on the sheet. So you could just go grab, hey, can you talk to me about my models? What did you like? What did you didn't like? Whatever. And seeing, like Mark said, like that, seeing those people move up, like get that next level, get that next award. Like Mark doesn't even keep his Atlanta figure show awards. He's won a bunch of them, but he just gives them back. Just don't waste your money. It is what it is. Save this for the guy that gets his first gold after trying for years, that sort of thing. And seeing that at AMPS was cool. And I knew none of those people, but I was happy for every single one of them, because you can see that, like, the joy and the excitedness in their faces when they walk up and get their gold in intermediate, knowing next year I'm in the quote unquote big leagues, right? I'm in advance. Like I'm with all the other, I guess the guys that have been, doing this stuff for years and years. That's cool. You don't see that at an IPMS show.
Yeah, I'd echo that.
It's a shame. It really is. If you haven't, this is going to sound a little preachy. If you haven't been to a show like that, do yourself a favor and go there. If you think open system is dumb or wrong, participate in it or witness it. And you see that versus a bunch of disappointed people at an IPMS Nats that didn't get an award that probably deserved an award. Because I know when I judge at an IPMS Nats, lots of things I judge could win an award, but they all can't. And, that's not fun. That it was fun judging, knowing like when we tally up all our scores, like this dude's getting a gold, he's going to be stoked, right? Like they're going to be happy, and unlike when you judge at IPMS Nats and you pick 3 and there's other good stuff on the table. I'm like, I know how this guy's going to feel because I felt that way too. Knowing that your stuff is good, just as good as some of the other stuff, but for whatever reason that day, someone thought it wasn't. That's not always a good feeling. It's a good feeling to win. And at least at AMPS, like, why you got what you got, unlike at the IPMS shows.
Yeah, I want to go back to the point you talked about, not knowing people, but sharing the joy. And that's exactly it. During the awards ceremony, one of my friends, he was a beginner and, he'd grinded a couple of years. And when he won gold in beginner, I'm telling you people, beginner, you would think that he won a gold medal at the Olympics. And to share in that type of joy was freaking electric. Like this is what it's about. Like that type of reaction, that type of environment, that type of show that creates that's all that matters in the hobby, in my mind. If you can only give 3 away and there's 20 golds, I don't know what we're doing here. Because when I look at shows like AMPS, they are fostering the love and the growth of the hobby. And I echo literally everything you said times 10, TJ, because that's the difference. And that's what makes it. Like you said, I'll hoot and holler for anybody that's going up and advancing in a class. I mean, you'd think it's like The Rock that just won the belt at WrestleMania, for crying out loud. Like it gets that intense sometimes. And seeing people not only cheer for the individual when they got it, but when they come back, you're patting them on the back. It's much more of a brotherhood.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that kind of the last thing is, we've talked about the Seattle show, the NWSM show that we go to, where there isn't an element of competition being a little bit different. With this, there is sort of competition, but it's yourself. You're not competing against anybody else. So you're improving in a linear way. If you go back year after year and you get this feedback, because you're submitting your work, you're getting feedback on that work, and then you're making adjustments. And so you're growing. There's a path of growth, versus you might have, put together the best model you've ever done in another format, and you might bring it to a show, and not only will it not be recognized, but you might not even get any feedback. And so if it's something where you want improvement and you want to get better, this system and this style with the different levels and the consistent feedback year over year, I think is a great pathway to provide guidance and help to people that do want to get better.
Well, TJ, thanks so much for that really good discussion on AMPS. I think it's an important organization for the future of the hobby, and I would encourage everyone, even if you're not an armor modeler, go check out their website, go understand how they judge, look at their score sheets. Maybe it'll influence you and your club on how to conduct scoring and judging at your show. Their approach is really interesting, really, I should say, hobby forward, and I can't wait to go next year in South Bend. That's over my birthday weekend on April 12th. So I hopefully will see a lot of you there. Maybe I'll try to drag Scott there with me, and we'll make it happen. But with that, we're going to move on and wrap this episode up with a few more things. And with that, I'd like to mention our Posse merch store. If you'd like to rep the Posse, like Robert Klein, who sent us a great photo of himself wearing a sweet PPP, a triple P red t-shirt, you can check out our awesome merch page over on Teespring. You can find coffee mugs, t-shirts, jumpers, or even the world famous PPP lounge trousers. We need to get a picture of Jensen with those modeling on there. You can go order that at our Plastic Posse merch website at plastic-posse-podcast.creator-spring.com. We'll post it in the show notes and on our Facebook page to make it easier as well. Check it out. We got to get some Jethro merch up there. So there's a lot of Jethroisms that need to be captured, and a few other things. Maybe we'll even integrate some reptilian shirts for Doug.
Yeah, Grant getting a hug from some kind of snake would be good. I think everybody enjoy that. All right, thanks, John. Man, he's a mean website reader. Nice job on that. Well, thanks a lot, everybody, for riding along with us for our 70th, holy cow, installment of the Plastic Posse. As always, we want you to know that we appreciate your support. We have great sponsors. We have great Patreons and great listeners. So thank you so much for helping to bring the Triple P to you every 2 weeks. Got a gripe? Maybe a suggestion? Want to see something changed? Want to see Doug sending more snake pics to Grant than he already does? Well, you can send us this and any other feedback you have to plasticpossepodcast@gmail.com. And if you haven't yet joined our Plastic Posse group page over on Facebook, why not do that now? Be a part of the community. It's a lot of fun. Post your work, participate, comment. It's a really good community. You're going to enjoy that. Well, having said that, we will see you again in 2 weeks. And without further eloquence, yeehaw!
If you'd like to support the Triple P, and become a Plastic Posse Outrider, it's super easy. Just go on over to our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/Plastic Posse Podcast and set up a recurring donation there. These contributions help offset the costs of bringing you the Triple P. There are 3 different tiers of support starting at just $1 a month. And there are some really great benefits: early access to podcasts, premium access to the hosts, and the chance to appear on the podcast and exclusive Triple P content. Let's recognize our amazing deputy marshals. These are the guys that ride the range every month to do a great job. Drew Gardner, Scott Hall, Tim Holm, Frank Perrone, Dennis Tennant, the voice of Bob, Jeremy Diamond, Ryan Smith, Terry Wilkinson, Chris Lovewell, Andrew Callis, Ethan Eidenmill, Bruce the Model Noob, Steve Baker, Eric Daglish, Joel Porche, Graham Pearson, Patrick Brown, Steve Schaefer, Jay Kidd, Paul Burdett, Brandon Gentry, Robert Klein, Mark Ewing, Ted Kawahara, John Bryan, Gail Model Hanger, Toadman, Model Doc, Doug Reed, Greg James, Les Workala, Beat Colt 1911, John Everett, Josh Buck, Black Rifle Model Works, Thomas Bannock, Mark Bradley, Zach Pease, Joel Munson, Eric Brewbreaker, Jeremy Moore, DB Scale Model Studio, Matt Johnston, Jeremy Elliott, Mike Talley, Previous Seat, Mediocre, Middle-Aged Modeler, Dan Knopfel, and JC Osborne.
Let's also recognize our excellent posse foremen who give the deputy marshals a hand around the ranch: George G. Baker, Warhoff Models, Drew, Ross, Eric, Len, John, Cliff, Eric, Mike, Benjamin, Craig, Papa, Logan, Red Beach One Studios, MD Models, JV, Toby, Damian, Kieran, Cody, Pete, Tim, Nukeman, Mike, Greg, JAK, Ash, Irish Pat, Paul, What's the Deal with Eyebones Models, Mr. Grizz, Jackson, Mac Armor, Chris, Lee, and Jamie.
And of course, our Posse Outriders included Papa Mike Charlie. Please consider posting a review of the Triple P on the podcast platform you use. Each 5-star review helps other modelers find the Plastic Posse.
Yeah, I've got a quick question.
What's up?
What is the deal with iBones Models?
You know, I've been trying to figure that out, and I don't know. I really don't know. I love that man, but...
I'm just hopeful that he got enough bedrooms for all of his alternate personalities.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I'll recognize him next time I see him, because he looks different in every picture.
Especially when he's necking a beer bottle.
Yeah.
What did he like? I can't remember. Did he like slam it down? He put it down hard. It's whoop, like right out the top.
Yeah, Butterfingers, dropping beer on a model.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you saw that picture that he posted, Doug, with his medal, but I took those. I think he posted in the Posse group. So I didn't tell him, and I went to the store specifically to buy a 6-pack of Coors, because I don't drink a lot of beer anymore, just for health reasons mainly. But I was like, I gotta take a picture of a bottle of Coors with his model in his medal, because it's really funny. Mm-hmm. So I bought that 6-pack of bottles of Coors, which I don't friggin' drink, just to take that picture. I'm like, he's gonna really think this is funny. And actually, I think it's still sitting back here. Yeah, there it is. Sitting behind my photo setup. Yeah, what a goober. Yeah. We can talk about video games again, classic video games, because I love me some classic video games.
Yeah, I think Diddy Kong Racing might be the best video game ever made. I mean, I must have played that with my kids for hundreds and hundreds of hours. It's a great game.
So correct me if I'm wrong. You guys may know. I think it came out around the same time as GoldenEye 007. I'm pretty sure it did. I think it was like the same season. And I may have told the story before, but I'm going to tell it again. You guys might have heard it in person, but the listeners probably haven't. If you were alive in 1996, I think that's when GoldenEye, or was that 97?
97.
97. Thank you. If you were alive in 1997 and you were a kid, which I was in high school, and you owned a Nintendo 64, you wanted GoldenEye 007 for Christmas. I think it came out in September. So it was the Christmas game, which of course now they don't really do that shit anymore. Now it's just you release a game whenever you want. But back then it was kind of like that, but there was definitely a Christmas push, right? A holiday push. And that's when a lot of like the marquee games would come out.
Yep.
And of course, when that game came out, impossible to find. You just couldn't get it, right? It just wasn't happening. My father was determined to get me that game for Christmas because I didn't have I wasn't old enough to work yet. I think it was in 10th grade. So I didn't have a job yet. So I had no money. He was going to give me that game for Christmas. He went like literally every day after work to like different Targets and Walmarts and all that crap in Las Vegas trying to find that damn game. What I didn't know is that he found it. So Christmas morning, I'm opening up all the presents. And of course, N64 game boxes had a certain shape, right? You knew that shape. Of course, being a kid, I'm like, I know that shape in wrapping paper. I pick it up. I'm like, this is 007. Holy shit. I just got 007. Oh my God. I'm so excited. Trying to like act like I don't know it's 007. I'm like, oh, I wonder what this is. I open up, it's Diddy Kong Racing. I'm like, cool. Okay. Trying to be really excited. I'm like, I did want this game because I love Donkey Kong Country and Donkey Kong Country Junior or 2, out of whatever the second Donkey Kong Country for Super Nintendo was. I love both those games. I'm like, cool. That's awesome. I guess I'm not getting GoldenEye 007. I'm thinking to myself in my head. And then like the last present, my dad's like, here, you should open this one. It was a larger box. And he did the classic trick of putting the smaller thing in a larger box and disguising it. No clue I had no idea it was 007. And I opened that up and I'm like, holy shit, it's 007. And I immediately went upstairs and literally played that game all day into early hours of the night. Like I didn't even stop to eat. I went downstairs. I got a couple slices of honey baked ham and then went back upstairs, sat in front of my TV in my chair, like a desk chair, like this far away, playing it, eating like slices of honey baked ham. Probably until, God, probably 2:00 in the morning. Christmas night, or I guess into the 26th. Yeah. Freaking love that game. So good.
I told you that it made me sick. It was the game that made me realize that I can't handle first person shooters. I played it anyway. I didn't care. I mean, I would get nauseous, and I was just happy as could be because I was playing that game. I haven't played it like right before a long flight, flying back from Chicago, and I took it. I played it and made myself sick. I mean, I wasn't sick on the flight, but man, I was not feeling good in the airport.
It's so damn good. Yeah. It's funny when I moved back home in the early 2000s. I think probably like 2004, 2005 ish. I'd already been back for a couple of years. I met a girl. She was a little bit younger than me. She was really cool. Her name was Lindsay. We started dating, and we were like hanging out one day. And I don't know if she saw, because I brought all my stuff with me, obviously, because like I said, I still have my N64. Or maybe because she was a gamer. She liked to play video games. We played Halo on the original Xbox together a lot. And I don't know, we were talking about GoldenEye, and she's like, oh, I was really good at GoldenEye. I'm like, yeah, okay. She's like, no, I was. I'm like, you weren't as good as me. She's like, oh, you don't think? I'm like, oh, yeah, I don't think. And I'm not just saying that because you're a girl. I'm just saying because I'm really good at GoldenEye. She's like, okay. Well, I have GoldenEye, so you can come over and we'll play GoldenEye. I'm like, all right, I'll be there. I'm not as good as I remembered. And also the control scheme of that game is really weird because you have the one stick, which I wasn't used to, which I still don't like, because you got to look, the yellow pad looks up and down and then the stick moves side to side. It's freaking weird. I don't like it. Yeah. So that was probably the last time I played it. And that was 2005. So it's been a long time since I played it.
Yeah. I ever play Rogue Squadron, the original Rogue Squadron?
Classic.
That was a great one. I played that game. I beat every level. I gold medaled every level on that, unlocked everything. I loved playing that one too.
Oh, Rogue Squadron is so good. It's probably one of the best Star Wars video games ever.
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, Shadows of the Empire is great too. Don't get me wrong, but Rogue Squadron. Can you hear my cat? I don't know if you guys can hear that. he's outside the door trilling.
I remember that Christmas when that was just like when Madden would come out and they would just like wait and wait and wait. You had like huge lines, or Tiger Woods golf. Cause I played a lot of sports games. I didn't do a lot of shooter games, but I mean, I remember that just like it was yesterday. Sometimes just crazy.
Video games it's a different world now.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it was that long ago, but it feels like it's not that long ago. I was going to midnight releases for, Call of Duty. Yep. And now you're just like, you can pre-download it. So at 12:01, the day it comes out, it's ready to play on your Xbox.
Right.
I like that. Don't get me wrong. I like that, but also it was really fun going to the mall for midnight release of Call of Duty and drinking out of a thermos that had alcohol in it. Even though you weren't supposed to be drinking in the mall, with me and my buddy Anthony pre-gaming at the mall and then going back to his house, getting drunk and playing Call of Duty until like 4:00 in the morning, because we would take off work the next day. That's the way. That's the type of people we were.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the best is when we would do LAN parties. We'd get 4 TVs back to back in a garage. I'd bring the turkey fryer. We'd do fry anything. So, one day somebody dipped a Taco Bell hard shell taco in some batter. We threw that in the turkey fryer. Anything goes. And I'd love to say there was alcohol there, but there wasn't. It was Mountain Dew Code Red. It was Monsters. It was Diet Cokes. Yeah. But yeah, video games, man. I just love first-person shooters. GoldenEye, that was the tip of the spear. And then Halo, man. Halo.
Yeah, Doug and I, we did LAN parties for Diablo 2. Go over to our friend's house, and man, we'd play that thing for hours and hours and hours, and it's great that we can all do that over the internet. But there's something to be said about, lugging your 27-inch old school monitor and your tower into your car, and then lugging those all into the house and stringing cables all over the place, to get a game together like that.
Those were great days.
Yep.
The best was in college. In Halo 1, you didn't have comms, so there was no way to, communicate to anybody. So we would plug our Xbox into the wall and we'd put our room name as like our player name. And then that way, you could maybe go find them and talk to them. But there were a couple times where, you might kill somebody, you might do the melee squat thing. And then, a group of folks show up at your door and want to fight over a Halo tournament. But and then Halo 2 was a game changer, because Halo 2, you could use voice comms, but Halo 1, we would just put our room name. And then that way but it made it difficult because we would have 4 on our TV, and then it was literally like communicating with a Charlie Chaplin film, because you couldn't tell the other team, like, okay, defend the base, we'll go get the flag. So it was, but yeah, LAN parties. Oh, I'd do it right now. I mean, I would do it at the Nats.
I'd
play all night.
Yep. Wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah.
Halo 2 was the first online one, right? First one on Xbox Live.
Yep. And you could, they had voice comms. So it was awesome.
I mean, I loved Halo 2 and Halo 3. Both of them were really good.
Yeah.
Just, oh man, that the early days of Xbox Live were awesome. That the new Halo Infinite, I think, is really good. I have it for Xbox One. Or whatever the new Xbox is. They're the Series X or whatever. It's awesome. It's great. The multiplayer is good. It's Halo, but like, man, like those early like Halo 2 and Halo 3 days because you would get the persistent lobby, and they don't do that anymore. At least they didn't when I haven't played the latest Halo in a while, but the matchmaking, you're in a new game every game. And it sucks, man. Like I love that persistent lobby, because you could get grouped up with some dudes and be like, we work well together. And then you're playing game after game, and then you add each other on your friends list. And I've probably mentioned before, like I made like actual friends doing that, like dudes that I talked to back when we had Nextels, where you could do the push to talk. Like we all had, because I had Nextel for work. They all had Nextels for work too. They lived up in like Connecticut and like upstate New York and like all this stuff, that area. and we would exchange Nextel numbers. Right, these the random dudes I met playing Halo, and I'm like sitting in my house, and my freaking work Nextel goes off. It's my buddy Kenny. Hey man, you want to get on some Halo? I'm like, hell yeah, I do. Let's freaking go. Like, yeah, I know it's a work night and 9:30, but I don't care. Like, I was in my early 20s. I could stay up till midnight and then wake up at 4:00 in the morning and work all day. I didn't care.
Yep.
Yeah, speaking of video games, man, I got to get on the Server Slam last weekend, TJ, and oh man, Diablo 4 is so good. It's so good. It's gonna be epic. It's
I'm
great.
looking forward to it. I think we mentioned it before. Like, we've been talking about D4 since like the very first episode, second episode.
Yeah.
It's finally happening.
Yeah. Well,
what character did you play?
Pass, man. I don't play games anymore.
Yeah, but it's Diablo. God, it's so good.
Yeah, I played a Necromancer, which actually isn't a character I normally play. But man, it was just everything about it is great. You know, it's they've taken all the best elements of the other 3 games and really put it back into a package. You know, it's got a little bit of that. You know, it's a dungeon crawler, but it's also got a little bit of that gothic, you know, look to it, like the old classic Diablo and Diablo 2 had. And anyway, it's a lot of fun. I only played it for, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours, but man, it was a blast.
What are the classes again? It's druid, right?
Yeah, so you have a druid, you have a necromancer, you have a rogue.
The rogue.
A barbarian, and then I'm forgetting and the sorceress.
Okay.
Sorcerer or sorceress, I think. Yeah. So anyway, really, really great. You got capped at level 20 and you could only stick in the first area, but it's really cool. There's some open world elements to it this time around. And like I said, it looks great. It plays great. It's going to be, the skill tree is off the hook. I mean, it's like all the other Diablo games as far as your character development are just, I mean, it's light years ahead of them. And also every single individual character looks individual. It doesn't, you know, it's not like in Diablo 2 where everybody's barbarian starts out and they all look exactly the same. It's not like that at all. Everything is customized to you, and the way you develop your character, it's all customized. So yeah, it's fantastic. It's going to be terrific.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll definitely be getting it. I do love some Diablo. It's that oh god, the gameplay loop is so addictive, and I fall for it every time. And then I'll probably play a rogue, because I was a rogue main in World of Warcraft, so like that kind of play style. Not true. I also mained a priest. I had split mains. Don't at me for being a rogue main and ganking people, because I definitely did that. But I was also a part-time healer. Yeah. I'm a huge nerd. I don't know if you guys know that or not. I don't know if that's news to everybody here.
Don't think you're alone.
I've only played World of Warcraft for 16 years.
Yeah.
Longer than my kids have been alive.
Yeah.